bought an Aston Martin V8 Vantage and put custom air suspension, custom Navis wheels and added a load of performance parts. 3 years ago I came across a photo in America of a bagged Aston Martin. It's a red car, something that I really wanted to do for quite a few years. Finally found the chance to get hold of what I wanted to do, and here we are. We couldn't find the listing from when I bought the car, but by searching the number plate I found previous listings of this car. Here it is with the original red rear lights in it, and it turns out the car had a blue leather steering wheel at one point as well, but that's since been changed before I owned it. So I collected the car from Stratford-upon-Avon and instantly took it around the Cotswolds on the first day of owning it. The second day of owning it I went on a bit of a road trip. I did about 300 miles, and then following week the car is up in the air on the ramp measuring up for air suspension. As you can see, we've 3D printed some parts after designing them. I've done a bit of a test fit, make sure I've got the clearance with the suspension arms. Once I was happy with the design, I sent off the drawings to an engineer that was local. He has manufactured all the parts in aluminium, and then I've assembled them and done another test fit.
Another one.
Once the air suspension was dialed in, we fitted the AccuAir management system. It's something I've run for 10 years on different vehicles. It had to be AccuAir again. After the air suspension, I decided I wanted to do some styling and some exhaust upgrades. I bought some N400 side skirts, N420 rear diffuser that's carbon, Maxton Design ducktail lip, and 200cc sports cats with an X pipe as well. Once the car was designed and built, I took it over to Sign and Graphics in Hinckley. They did a dechroming of the car, and they also PPF'd the side skirts and the rear quarters. Let's go do a walk around of the vehicle and I'll show you what we've done. So this is my 2007 specification Aston Martin Vantage. It's a V8, 4.3 V8. This car is a October 2006 registered car, but it just got into 07 spec, which meant I got the better seats. When looking for the car, I wanted something that was high spec, but was also had certain features so I could put family members in as well. So I'm quite lucky with the car that I ended up finding. This was the second car I viewed, first one being a grey car, but it just wasn't quite what I wanted. And then I was looking through Auto Trader. I kept on coming back to this. Every single time I'm going through all these cars, I kept on coming back to this. And it was mainly down to the colour combo and the weird interior, which we'll show you in a minute. So like I say, 2007 spec, 4.3 Vantage, and I've now created something a bit different to your normal Vantage. So we are running bespoke air suspension, and I've decided, when I was looking, I managed to find some GT3 dampers, so race car parts, online, which I ended up buying before I bought the car, with the intentions of, I knew I was going to go to air suspension with this, so I bought those, then bought the car, and then on the first week I was mocking parts up already. But yeah, Solow air suspension using GT3 dampers. I've paired that up with an AccuAir management. I've been running AccuAir for 10 years. Conveniently, I'm wearing my AccuAir top today. Wasn't the intention.
We got a full kit wanker right here.
10 years of AccuAir, and getting me away from that, it's never going to happen. So we had to go with AccuAir. I'm running the E+ height system. We've paired that up with Navis wheels, so these are custom wheels for me, to what I wanted, to my specs. We're running Michelin Pilot Sport 5s, I believe. The Navis Epta, which is basically 7 in Greek. I quite like Greek history, and it's essentially a twin 7-spoke wheel, so I thought that would be fitting for me. We've got a sapphire pearl blue, so it's quite a pearly colour. It's quite purple as well in certain lights, which is something I really like. I've had dark purple cars in the past, and it's just, I accidentally bought another blue car. Don't even like blue cars really, but I currently have 3, but here we are. And then, yeah, like I say, we've got quite a funky interior. It is a full blue leather interior, which is called Caspian blue, but then it's got a bit of sandstone, I think they call it, which is like a beigey, creamy colour, and it's even got a blue Alcantara headliner from factory as well. So this car is nearly full spec. The only thing I haven't got is memory seats, but I needed to have that no memory seats, so I could have ISOFIX instead. Full spec, premium audio, cruise control, telephone, every option pretty much on the car. Power folding mirrors, the high spec car, and it's currently got 45,000 miles. So low mileage car. I've done 5,000 in it this year on air. So yeah, it's been great. When I got the car, being a pre-facelift Vantage, it's relatively sophisticated looking, and I wanted a bit more aggression. So I managed to find the N400 or 420 side skirts. These are genuine Aston Martin skirts that have then been PPF'd in the back half, along with the rear quarter. And I also managed to get hold of an N420 specification rear diffuser. This is a carbon part, and then just to complement that, we went with a Maxton lip, so just a little girdy flap, which just gives a bit more aggression to the car. The other parts that are modified on it is the exhaust. We're running a standard back box, but I've took the fuse out for the exhaust flaps, which defaults in loud, and then I've added the 200 cell sports cats and an X-pipe to really bring up the volume. So this car really does now scream, and it is absolutely fantastic. So opening the boot, I wanted to make the most of what little boot this car has anyway. I mean, it's relatively good, but I needed to make the most of it. So my plan was, let's get everything above the fuel tank. So every possible part of the air suspension, twin compressors, valve block, ECU, tank, is all just here. So I've not really lost any space, because that's quite a useless bit of space, to be honest. So this is still a temporary install. It's probably better than most installs on cars anyway that aren't a hardline install. So it's been done properly, but it's still temporary because I do plan to, obviously I bought the carbon tank to complement a few of the bits on the car, but I want to do a hardline install, which will kind of, the bottom board is the shape of the install, where it cuts back over here, so it'll have panels half flush the tank into the fascia panel, and then it'll have some hard lines that sort of kick off towards the side. Hence these two straps are the temporary ones, and because I had a carbon tank I had no straps, so I just found what I had. Annoyingly there's two different colours there, but yeah, that's just a temporary thing that's been like that for a year now, but it will happen. But yeah, that's the air suspension install. I'll show you the controller mount. What I wanted to do with the controller mount was keep it stealth, keep it hidden. I've had people lean on controller mounts in the past on other cars, so I wanted to really hide this one away, and just by luck I can just get away with hiding this controller in the factory ashtray location. So as you can see here, we've got our E-level controller, but it also gets hidden away under the original panel. You can't even tell it's there. Basically I designed and 3D printed a mount, and then assembled the ashtray lid with all the hinges into the 3D printed part, and ended up with essentially a perfectly hidden controller. It's a nice little added feature to the car. So this is the 4.3 V8. It's actually an interesting V8 because it's a dry sump system, which isn't common on a road car. It's more normally found on a race car. It's also a transaxle car, so the gearbox is actually at the back of the car, whereas conventionally it's sort of in the front near where your gear stick is, just behind the engine. So Aston Martin did a lot of work on trying to get this to be a nice handling car, just evenly distribute all the weight, and they've actually brought the V8 really far back into the shell. So technically this is a front mid-engine car, even though the engine is still there, because your engine is behind the center of the axle. So yeah, fun fact there, front mid-engine and transaxle. And this is also a fully bonded aluminium chassis. So most cars are a monoshell made out of steel, so they're all welded together from factory. This is aluminium panels all bonded together, so there's no welding done here. It's got a steel rear subframe, steel front subframe, but it is an aluminium shell, and then a lot of it's fiberglass. So you've got fiberglass wings, I think fiberglass rear quarters as well, and boot lid, but the bonnet I think is aluminium. As you can see, we've got a bit of a personalised plate on the car. This actually came with the car and has been on the car for the majority of its life. I thought about changing it, putting one of my private plates on, but I ended up just keeping this because I guess it works. So you've got 0005, Oscar 05. Yeah, you got the whole Bond thing. I'm not really into the Bond thing. Yeah, you've got that. But then AMV, so Aston Martin Vantage. So it is a suitable plate for the car. And with it being on the car for so long, I thought, yeah, it should stay. One thing I found with this car is the sun visors are tiny, so you really don't get much benefit from putting them down. So I decided we'd put a sun strip on it. We've stealthily hidden the Navis logo behind it, so it's sort of it's debossed, I believe. So the Navis logo is actually proud. And as you can see, we've been on track. So a lot of my friends decided they wanted to do a track day a few months ago, and I sort of wanted to just go and watch. And then the more I thought about it, it was just going to be like, should I just take this or should I take another car? But the other car, probably not. I'd rather not put that on track just because it's a bit rarer. I ended up deciding, let's do it. So I ended up putting some EPC brake pads on it, the other stuff, just because the old ones were wearing thin on the rear. So I thought, well, why not? Let's get it at least set up a little bit for track. I had the geometry done to the GT4 specification race car. This thing was brilliant on track. And moving to the back of the car, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is the camber arms that I fitted. So when we lowered the car, it is so much lower than it was at standard ride height that I ended up with a load of negative camber. So obviously my wheels were then pointing like this way too much. I ended up with minus 3.5 degrees, which is, you're just gonna wear through tires, I guess, if your toe's wrong, but I would have not benefited from having the decent tire that I've got. So I ended up building a GT4 specification rear camber arm. What we've got here is a rose joint. This is something that you find a lot in motorsport, and what I did was I had a triangular shaped arm. I cut the old bush off the aluminium arm, so we literally machined that off, and then we added a thread into the arm and then fit a rose joint. So this is now an adjustable camber arm, so all we had to do was lengthen the arm essentially by unthreading it. The arm then pulled up, which then brought the camber back into what we would call, I guess, a correct camber setup for a road car. It was getting a bit too race car camber settings beforehand. Brought the wheel out, it's got the camber right, it means it drives much better, because I found it was way too twitchy on the rear when the alignment wasn't quite right. Nice part there. They wanted £1,500 a side for genuine GT4 arms, so I thought I'd make my own. You know, we're running Powerflex bushes on the inner just to keep it some form of suppleness, and then yeah, the rose joint on the outer. Another thing on this car that's I guess a modification is the rear lights. These are the facelift clear rear lights that people go mad for, even though if I'm honest, I prefer the red ones, but someone had changed these just before I bought the car to the clears, and the reds didn't come with it. But yeah, this originally had red rear lights because, like I say, this is a pre-facelift car. Right, on to the fun facts of this car. So we'll move over to the interior, probably the best thing to do. Let's talk about the key. I've got what is essentially a Ford key, but with a Volvo key fob. Because this car was built when Ford owned Aston Martin and Volvo, we got a few bits from the parts bin. So there's 2 items for you. So if I was to peel this worn off leather, it would show Volvo just there, because it is literally a Volvo key fob. Following on from the Volvo parts, we've got some Volvo V70 wing mirrors from an estate car basically. And then on the interior, my window switches and head wing mirror adjustment, again Volvo parts. So our handbrake, as you can see, the handbrake is down because it's on the outside of the car, which is, I guess, quite weird really. You pull it up and then let go. So now that handbrake is on. If I want to release the handbrake, I come up and then push down. So the final visual difference to the car from when it was standard was I de-chromed it. It had the chrome all the way around the window surrounds. The strakes, I think they're called, were chrome. All the grills were a bit shiny, and obviously the front grille, which is a massive amount of chrome. It just wasn't for me. I spoke to Silent Graphics in Hinckley. They wrapped all this in a satin black. All these fins come out individually, so that made it a little bit easier, but it's still not a nice job doing a curve in such a flat side. And then these are a fun one because these are bolted from the back, and you have to take the engine's ECU out to unbolt that. So you'll find a lot of people will just paint over that, or if you ever need to paint the wings, they'll leave that in. But yeah, de-chrome that. To me, just gave it a bit more aggression, which is what I wanted. So that is my Aston Martin Vantage. Hope you like it. We will be doing a few more of our team rides. There's quite a few cool cars around, a few cool vans, just showing you that we are all into it. But yeah, hope you like it. On to the next one.